Hello, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. We're here again, and thank you for allowing us to come into your home to present you some straight facts about the city of Fall River and what's happening. I'm CJ Ferry, one of your hosts, and my co-host.
Good morning. This is Chip Camara. How are you doing out there?
And we're going to present some information to you today that hopefully we can bring some light to some issues that you may have. And remember, you can always email us or you can call our phone number and give us some tips or questions you may have. Today's show may be a little shaky to you. You may hate me, you may hate Chipper, you may hate both of us. We're thinking of getting shirts made with bullseyes on the back so you can take aim at us as we're walking down the street. So is there anything you wanted to start with today?
Well, you know, I guess we could start with the election, and the rather than deal with the results, which were basically the same old, for the most part, with a few exceptions, which we can elaborate on later. But with the pathetic turnout that we had of voters, and I think that's one of the major issues. I think that apathy is one of the. It may be a symptom of what's happening to Fall River. I don't know whether it's apathy or people have just given up, and they're believing the rhetoric that there's nothing, we can't change anything, even though we can if we all show up to vote. Only 25% of the people in this city voted in the election, which means 75% of the people didn't. So any politician that considers getting in a mandate of the people is kind of stretching the facts. I'm not sure if the people of Fall River are now having the attitude that we can't change anything, we're going to give up, there's just nothing we can do. And that is really a sad commentary because, you know, we can change things and we should change things, and that's why we're here, to try to get people involved and get people angry or committed or whatever we need to do to get you to voice your opinion, because CJ and I won't have a major complaint. If 75% of the people or 100% of the people voted, we can say that the will of the people is being served. But in an election where a quarter of the voters spoke, we can't really say that what the people want is what they got.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is that, you know, the 25 people that voted all seem to vote consistently. They're the same people who vote over and over and over again. And as you know, as I do as a political activist and a political consultant, I compare elections. I compare the voting records from election to election. And for people out there may be interested to know, you can actually get those records from Government Center. So I know if you voted. I can actually look on the system and say, you know, John Smith from Bay Street voted. Doesn't tell me what you voted, obviously, but it will tell me that you did vote. So I know that you voted. And very rarely do I see a change in the voting pattern. It's always the same people over and over and over again. There are very few new voters added to the system. And actually, when you look at it, there are people who are actually dropping off the voting list. The same people who vote over and over again, they're actually dropping off. And that's actually the seniors, because seniors pass away. So that's something you have to look at. And, you know, when you're looking at the system, people wonder, why doesn't the city council change? Why doesn't the mayor change? Why doesn't the school committee change? It doesn't change because you got a chow mein sandwich. It doesn't change because you got a ham and bean dinner. Yay, Leo, right? I mean, that's how Leo got back in, his ham and bean dinners. And that's a sad thing. And it's your fault. I mean, when you look at the change in the school committee, one person changed. That was Melissa Karam Panchley, and she deliberately put the Karam name in there so the Karam name would resonate with the people that voted. And her campaign manager was Eric Poulin. Okay, so you knew there was something in there for him. And I happened to hear on the radio that with Eric Poulin present on a particular show, that Eric is now the political advisor or commentator or analyst for WSAR Radio. Was that his payoff?
Well,
you know?
I mean, I think we can speculate that, but,
yeah.
You know, the reality is, as you said, CJ, people tend to vote in patterns, and the reason is that the people who do vote are people who have an interest. You know, Napoleon Bonaparte made a quote many years ago, and it's true. He said that the lever that moves men are fear and self-interest. And as you said, the seniors tend not to be involved with a lot of issues. They're living in, for the most part, they're living in public housing. They get, so they'll respond to somebody who goes in and maybe sings and dances like one of our former mayors, or gives them a chow mein dinner or a ham and bean supper, or as we saw in one of the past elections, that they actually bus them to the Venus for dinner and then for breakfast on election day. So they basically buy that section of votes. And then, of course, we have the political hacks whose families vote for a particular candidate because they want to get a job, keep a job, or get a job in the future. And unfortunately, the way these elections have been going lately in Fall River, they appear to have enough of a majority to keep the same people in. But who do we blame? Oh, we're not going to blame them, because the fact is, you know, they've got their own agenda. But it's the other 75% of the people who just don't pay attention and don't want to vote and won't vote unless they have a particular issue that they want to vote about. And that segues us into the fact that, you know, the people of Fall River approved a $10 million bond issue on this ballot, which is inconceivable to me since we're in so much debt already. But again, the 75% of the people who didn't vote, when they get the bill that's associated with this bond issue, and they'll be paying forever with it, won't be happy. But
No,
they've
they
got
won't.
no reason to complain.
And you know what was funny? Because you and I were at the meeting when Terry Sullivan said to the city council, and I'm quoting, "I will be sure that this meter fee appears on your water bill, on the next water bills." Okay? I got my water bill. Guess what wasn't on it?
Wow. Let me guess.
Take a wild guess what wasn't on that water bill.
Could it be the meter fee?
The meter fee wasn't on there.
Amazing.
Okay? Amazing, isn't it? Lies, more lies. I mean, it's amazing what happens. And these are the things that happen in Fall River. This is a $10 million bond for a plan. It's not to fix it. And if you notice at the end, the way they worded it, and you have to give the mayor and the Board of Elections and the corporate council credit for this. A no vote will result in fines from the EPA. Wait a minute, don't we already have fines from the EPA coming down? And I think we heard that first here on Straight Talk. So of course everyone goes, "Oh no, fines! We gotta say no, we already got fines. We gotta say yes to this," and that's for planning, not even for implementation. And it was for every area of the city that is connected to the administration of the city council. It's not even to the area of the city which needs it most, which is Stafford Square, which is on Pleasant, where Pleasant and Quarry Street meet. Because if you ever have a heavy rainstorm, the Titanic could sink there, and we won't find it till the water clears. But that wasn't included. So, you have to really look at what's happening. But the people get the government they deserve. And when the state comes in and says, "Well, Mr. Mayor, well, City Council, well, citizens of Fall River, we're putting you in receivership. Remember, you voted for it." And I want to get into some of the plans, the key goals that our mayor has for his upcoming term. His goals for the next 2 years on the issues of economic development, downtown revitalization, education, public safety, and the future closure of the landfill. Amazing. Doesn't that sound like something we hear every single year? Not even every election cycle, every year. It's the same stuff. And it's funny because with the completion, and this was the biggest thing, with the completion of the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth Biopark set for early next year, Flanagan says it's vital for the city to advocate and market the remaining 300 acres at the park. Wait a minute, Mr. Mayor, you wanted to put a casino there. So now this biopark is vital to marketing the other 300 acres. Okay. What really makes me laugh is the mayor is talking about a $25,000 technical assistance grant from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation for another goal to complete the 18th and 19th century style revitalization of South Main Street from Purchase to Columbia Street, which I have that right here, which I think is very interesting. And they call that Mass DOT's grant to help give Fall River's downtown a historic makeover. When are we going to give up on downtown?
Well, we're never going to give up. The politicians are never going to give up, because the fact is, if you read his goals, it's always the same goal.
Right.
We've been developing our economy in Fall River for the past 20 years, and it's gotten worse every year. The fact is that we can't meet any of these goals until we begin to look at why we can't meet these goals, and that's what the politicians don't do. As I said, it's government, the ostrich approach to government. You bury your head in the sand and pretend that we don't have problems. And the Chicken Little government, where the sky is falling all the time, because we're going to get fined. But the reality is that we want to develop our economy. Who is going to come to Fall River? Let's be realistic. You can call me a naysayer, but I still live here. I still own a home here. I'm still invested in this community, as CJ is. And the fact is, we're trying to make a change. But the reality is, what business really wants to come to a city that has one of the lowest household incomes in the country, and probably the lowest in the state, has one of the lowest educational levels, where 70 to 80% of the children are on assisted lunch or free lunch programs, and there's virtually no discretionary cash to spend, because we have nobody here that really makes a lot of money, because most of the people who make the money put it in their carpet bags and move out of the city. And these continually come year after year after year. It's always when the spaghetti ramps are finished, when the ferry comes in, and when that ship sails in. But the reality is, we have to begin to change Fall River by actually doing rather than promising.
And it's funny because about the spaghetti ramps coming down, just to digress for a second, Rob Mellion from the Chamber of Commerce said he's going to work with AAA to make sure that Fall River is not taken off the travel maps, to make sure detours aren't put in place to AAA members who ask for directions. Well, guess what, Rob? You failed. Channel 10, Channel 12, Channel 6, Channel 64 all tell people on their travel broadcast to avoid Fall River. Avoid the exits. Don't come into Fall River. They're actually plotting routes around it. So maybe AAA isn't doing it, but the TV media is. So we've got a problem there. But back to this $25,000 grant, which I think is funny. Here's what they were going to use $25,000 for. We're going to love the spending of this money. The proposed improvement will include gas lights, period-specific building facades, signs directing tourists to the waterfront, which won't be available until after 2017, and streets dyed or stamped to look unpaved. Fall River will have a downtown that will be historic and appealing to the eye, Flanagan said. Flanagan said the throwback downtown would bring tourists to the city to experience what Fall River was in the days when the great mills ran 3 shifts and supplied the world with cotton, cloth, and thread. Elizabeth Dennehy said this should serve to bolster economic development activity. The grant will go a long way and lead us to the construction piece. Okay. After the $25,000 is spent to create a design, see, so the $25,000 isn't even to do it, it's to design it. The city will seek grant money to apply the design, or perhaps will seek Community Preservation Commission money. Flanagan said the work could be complete by 2017. Ooh, same time the spaghetti ramps are done. Fall River is committed to smart growth principles, Fox said. Alan Sylvia said Fall River long required some visual improvements. And of course, Carol Fiola, gotta love her. This is economic development money. I wonder if she voted on this. We have the best days yet to come. You know, you may think us negative, but we're trying to present the facts to you. This is $25,000 of money to keep people in Fall River's mouth shut, okay? Number one, look at Fall River from Purchase Street to Columbia Street. Does any of that look like anything from the 1850s? No. It doesn't. I have friends at Paramount and Universal, and yes, I do. You want to come to my house? You'll see some of the great artifacts, some of the great props. Many of you have seen me on the front page of the paper with a prop from Star Trek movies. Okay? I have these things. I have the contacts. I've had friends that have come here. Fall River could not, even for a movie about Fall River, they couldn't use Fall River. They would do it in Canada. And they're doing that with the Lizzie Borden movie. They did it in Canada. Because you can't do a period piece here. Because Fall River is so bastardized, is the only way I can word it. There is no Even the Highlands doesn't even have a period to it anymore. Have you noticed that? It doesn't look like anything.
Well, you know, again, you know, it goes from the ridiculous to the sublime. You know, I don't care if they make the most authentic-looking 1850s Main Street in the world. Let's be realistic, people. Don't. Yeah. Where is Fall River? We're 20 minutes from Newport, where they hold the America's Cup, where they have the 12-mile drive. We're half an hour from Cape Cod. You think if the only attraction is a building that looks at from the 1850s, we're going to draw thousands of tourists just to walk and look at facades on buildings when we have nothing else to offer? Let's get serious. This is another crock of baloney so people can make money on studies and people can make money on the facades and erections. And the fact is, it'll sit there and we'll have an 1850s looking downtown that has virtually no foot traffic instead of one the way it looks today. I mean, you know, this has got to stop. You know, this pie in the sky stuff, it's just like the carousel. The original report on the carousel, and I had that, and unfortunately I gave it to former City Councilor Thomas Kozak and never got it back. That was presented by Ken Fiola to the Board of Heritage State Park, which I was a member of at the time. And they said that the carousel would bring in 500,000 tourists a year. Well, we know what the carousel's been. It's been a giant pink elephant since its beginning, as was the Bounty. And we have the Battleship Cove. There was another one that was supposed to bring in droves of people. Well, you know, the fact is, malls survive because they have huge anchor stores which bring in the traffic. And then the small stores survive on those anchor stores. And that is a concept that's been proven to be effective. However, where is our hook? What do we have to bring people in? Can we compete with Newport? Can we compete with the Cape? Absolutely not. We have to find something else besides something visual. And, you know, maybe I'll give something here. A while back, I went down to North Carolina to a place I would never visit and stayed for a week because my fiance's daughter played on a traveling softball team. They had an immense softball complex down there with about 28 fields and literally thousands and thousands of softball players from all over the country playing girls softball. And that community made a lot of money because you had to get a hotel in that room and you had to eat and you had to stay there for a week while the tournament was going on. Is it feasible here? Maybe. But I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a lot more feasible than this crock of baloney that we're getting.
Yeah, well, you know, government centers become the New York deli. You know, a couple of things that I want to talk about real quick too. The mayor said very clearly in his plan, he talked about the police money that we're going to add more police because he got a grant. They lauded a $1.25 million grant to hire 10 police officers, and this is wonderful because these grants are hard to get, according to Senator Warren, and it's really funny because every politician, state, federal, and local, was there. You've got to show that you're a place on the move, that you're going to make this a better place for the people who live here, Warren said. Well, I want to see that. $1.25 million will be dispersed over a 3-year period. The COPS grant is a matching grant, with the city of Fall River also providing more than $1.14 million over the 3 years, along with other increases in local and state funding, including a recent $633,464 grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Racine says he hopes to send 15 to 20 recruits to the next police academy class in 2014. Those recruits would go through 6 months of academy training plus 12 weeks of internal police department training. That's great. We'll have more boots on the street, as he puts it. But let me tell you something. How do we pay for it after 3 years? How do we pay for it within the 3 years? That's another $1.14 million. And with the SAFER grant coming to an end, which, by the way, Eric Poulin did say on WSAR that we have to look at that. And he said we also have to look at the fact that the landfill is closing. Well, let's talk about that. The landfill is closing. The mayor went out And to pacify the DPW, he bought them all Red Wing boots. I don't know if he bought them out of city money, campaign money, or personal money, but he bought them all Red Wing boots. Lovely, lovely gesture on behalf of the mayor. I think that's great. And I have to give him credit. But during his debates, he said he wasn't a big advocate of pay-as-you-throw. He had taken that item off the table. So that left two other options. That was privatization or that trash-to-energy program. And we know the trash-to-energy program is a massive failure. The company that's trying to start that up here in Massachusetts has failed in Europe. All over Europe, they've closed out every single program, so it doesn't work. But let's take this promise, and we have it. On taxes and fees, Flanagan said, to the best of his ability, he would hold the bar on increases. We can't raise taxes and fees to solve any of our fiscal issues. Well, you'll notice he didn't say he won't. He says he will to the best of his ability. So we want to look at what's happening with that. It's very interesting to see how the promises are made.
Well, it's again, you know, that's the old political rhetoric. I'll do the best I can. Well, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, if you make $100 a week and you got $300 worth of bills, you're in trouble. The fact is we're barely paying our bills now, but now we're going to have to deal with the landfill. We're going to have to deal with more money for police officers in the short term and double that amount of money in the long term. And those police officers will not hit the street for almost a year. If you remember, 6 months in the training academy, another 3 months of local training. And so realistically, those police officers will not hit the streets for almost a year. And, you know, the bottom line is we continue to create more and more bill and more debt for this city, and we basically have no sources of revenue. Only 37% of the people in this community own homes. The tax rate is just going to continue to escalate, and fees are going to continue to escalate until we go downward, not upward. We're going to end up with 25% of the people owning houses, and who's going to pay the bills? We're going to continue to rebond until we go into receivership, and then Chicken Little will be right, the sky will fall.
Yeah. Real quickly on the South Coast Rail, another promise from the mayor and the governor. The governor doesn't care, remember, because he's out of office. He's leaving. Jack Sullivan from Commonwealth Magazine, very reputable magazine. Jack Sullivan's a very good writer. He provided some facts, and he wrote an article. And state officials are seeking to expand the commuter rail and extend the Green Line, even as ridership figures indicate that suburbanites are slowly abandoning the existing public transit systems. This is funny, because they expanded it into Wickford, Rhode Island, from Boston to Wickford, Rhode Island, before South Coast Rail. Isn't that funny? And the first two quarters of this year, the red, orange, and blue lines are down 1/2%. Not a bad deal. But ridership on all other forms of public transportation, including the commuter rail, the Green Line, and boats, were down, way down. Commuter rail ridership is down 5.6%. Green Line traffic, 9.6%. Boat traffic is down 13.2% compared to the same periods last year. Other ridership on MBTA operated public transportation is down 3.8%. How are you going to do it? And to top it all off, the equipment used by the MBCR is subpar. It is, they say it's crummy. The equipment the MBCR is using is crummy. There are lots of service failures that are not held against them, says Salvalucci. They're doing okay in terms of meeting the contract terms. They're not doing okay in terms of service. And here's the big line they say. People shouldn't have to choose between using transit and having a pleasant commute. She said, transit can sell itself as a superior way. What it can't be is worse. Right now, what it can't be is for Fall River. And that's the thing we have to understand and we have to accept. We are not going to get commuter rail. It is not financially feasible. Everyone in the House, everyone in the Senate. I don't care what Alan Sylvia says. I don't care what Carol Fiola says. I don't care what Paul Schmidt says. And as the governor himself said, I'm just going to try to make it more difficult before I go out of office for the next governor to back away from this issue. We're not going to see it. And that's the end of that.
Well, no, it's just the beginning. Unfortunately, it's just the beginning. We're going to be talking about it for a very long time. And the reality is, as you said, statistically, the MBTA is a massive drain. They don't make a lot. They don't make money. It's the dumping ground for every political hack that they can find. It's the largest dumping ground that they have. So they're going to keep it in existence. However, I don't think they're going to spend the money to come down to Fall River. And if let's say they do, it's not going to last because ridership is going to be very, very low. Because the fact is, contrary to what they tell you, most people from Boston are not getting on a commuter rail to come to Fall River to look at our 1850 main street.
They're going to come for a carousel.
Most people, yeah. Most people will be using it who work in Boston, and that's not a big enough number to keep that rail viable. So if we ever do get it, which may not be in my lifetime or yours, it will not remain open. It will be the first segment of the MBTA that's closed. So again, let's move past the pie in the sky mentality and let's get down to the business of taking care of Fall River.
Exactly. Okay, spoiler alert. If you don't like some of my commentary, shut me off now. This will offend many of you. You cannot defend the people of Fall River for the past election or for any candidate who ran for office. Win or lose, those who ran for office have more nerve or guts than many other butt kissers in Fall River who stand in the background and kiss butt throughout the entire process and make comments on the failings of candidates who have lost. The majority of the Fall River electorate are apathetic, and they do not even bother voting because they don't care, but complain the most about the outcome. If you don't vote, it's your fault. Those who do vote do so without the facts, just the bias-based message put forth by their chow mein happy or ham and bean serving candidate. And they are not bad, they fed us. And that is how the senior citizens vote. Feed us the best and we will vote for you. Even when the underdog presents the facts, they are described as negative, even by the press. How can factual information be negative? It is the way it is. And it is a statement of fact, a statement of what is happening. Does anyone wonder why people say, why vote? People should stop, watch a show about the facts about what is happening in Fall River. Oh wait, that is about the negative about Fall River. As the people who have left Fall River refer to Fall River, it is a drug-ridden, and I have to say this in a dung hole, that I never want to see again. And that is the image we have to break by changing the asinine leadership that is running Fall River into bankruptcy. So remember, when you no longer have trash service, clean parks, streets that are semi-passable, and very few services, but higher and higher taxes and no businesses, you, the voter, did it. You created the coffin for Fall River. You are ringing its death knell. Oh, wait a minute. Do you got a chow mein sandwich and ham and bean supper so you can understand this? And that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you for watching us. I'm CJ Ferry.
And I'm Chip Camara.
And this is Spindle City Straight Talk. And remember, if you have any tips, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us or give us a call. And once again, thank you for watching. I know we're tough on you, but you can handle it. Fall River's got a strong constitution. Thank you, and have a great day.